This is my city, Beersheba, and I've been here 10 years. It's a long way from Melbourne, but I like it. It feels comfortable, livable. Somehow you get a feel of the old West here, of history in the cracks, in the soil, in the dust. And why not? It's a pretty ancient place, with not only Abraham and Isaac, but also Romans and Persians passing through. But they tell me it was the Turks who turned it around, put in a railway, and the governor organised the Bedouin, brought it to life. And I can't begin to tell you what they've done the last few years. Hospital, university, museums, hotels. A few years ago, no one knew its name. Now they call it Israel's capital of the South. I like people. The more varied, the better. And here you get everyone. Israelis, Russians, Bedouin, Ethiopians, and even Aussies. And you should see them on market day. It's a riot. What do? I work for the city council. And how did I come here? Because of my grandfather. He was one who told me about Beersheba, and it's quite a story. He came with the troops in 1917, middle of the First World War, when we Aussies, together with the Brits and the New Zealanders, were fighting the Turks in Palestine. Our troops had been formed into a mounted infantry division under Lieutenant General Harry Chauvel. Their task was to attack Beersheba, which was the key to the south, and take its vital wells. On the 31st of October 1917, the Anzacs and Brits marched through the dark to the city. Hours later, Sir Harry Chauvel ordered the 4th and the 12th Aussie Light Horse Regiments, about 800 men, including my grandfather, to charge the Turkish lines straight on. The light horse were mounted infantry, but at this extraordinary time they charged as cavalry into the glaring afternoon sun, using their bayonets as swords. Well, the rest is history. The Turks hadn't expected a full charge, so they'd set their gun sights too high. The light horse jumped the main line and seized the other trenches, while some of our blokes dismounted and attacked the Turks from the rear. The capture of Beersheba was vital. It meant that the Aussies and the Allies had broken the whole Turkish line. According to my grandfather, that light horse attack, the last great cavalry charge in history, opened up the way to General Allenby's capture of Jerusalem and British control of Palestine. The Balfour Declaration, promising Palestine as a homeland to the Jews, came a few days later. So I guess it wouldn't be too much to say Israel owes quite a debt to the Aussies. My grandfather didn't say much, but told me of the human price of the charge. 31 of his friends gave their lives and were buried here, while another 36 were wounded.
But walking in a graveyard in a foreign country, seeing the graves of our soldiers who gave their lives for Australia, it makes me sad. Each cross there, each grave has a headstone. It's got the map of the rising sun for Australia. It's got the name of the soldier with his number, name and rank and unit and age. I feel sad because the effect at home was huge.
That charge was a fantastic moment, and there really had always been questions how to recall it, how to commemorate it properly. Then suddenly I heard rumours around the council. It was almost 90 years since the charge. Ideas were being pushed around, plans made. Then I heard it officially. The Pratt Foundation, created by the noted Australian business leader Richard Pratt, had come up with a wonderful idea. It was going to work with the Beersheba Foundation to help fund a park in honour of the light horse.
We discussed the locations. There were 3 different locations that the mayor offered the Pratt Foundation for the location of the park. Mr. Sam Lipsky and Mr. Peter Adler chose the existing location, which is right at the center of the city in a beautiful boulevard, Achimeir Boulevard, between Shaul HaMelech and Metzada streets, which are a very central place. And by the way, not that far from the Commonwealth Cemetery, where we have 1,400 Anzac fallen soldiers buried here in Beersheba.
After all the excitement, concrete plans were made while architect Nehemiah Ari got to work. Contractors brought on board, even a date fixed for the official opening. And early in 2007, the tractors moved in. The plan was on the move. The Aussies were coming. But as you can imagine, coordinating everything between Beersheba and Melbourne wasn't easy.
Once we had located and finalised the site, well, then the challenges became on bridging, I think, both the objective physical differences and the cultural differences between Australia and Israel, not just Israel, Beersheba. So on the one hand, we had to design a park that would be suitable for the climate, for the environment in Beersheba. And of course, we were dealing with issues related to the Australian Light Horse, so we had to deal with a lot of organisations and departments in Australia that have specific requirements if it was going to be an official commemoration to the Australian Light Horse. But because there was a lot of goodwill on both sides, everyone was prepared to compromise and work together for the common goal.
Everything was coming to life as the radical nature of the park took shape. The centre spot would be a playground, specially catering for children with physical disabilities, where they could play along easily with their less handicapped friends. And there would be a handsome bronze statue showing one of the light horsemen jumping the Turkish trenches. Soon a dramatic figure emerged under the hands and chisel of Peter Corlett, one of Australia's greatest sculptors. Then came the news that really blew me away. It was almost 90 years since the Beersheba charge, so to commemorate it, the Australian Light Horse Association brought over almost 70 enthusiasts and relatives from Australia to reenact the charge. And when they came on the 31st of October, Beersheba went crazy. And at 4:30 in the afternoon they charged. And it was an afternoon we'll all remember. After that, it was all rush and pressure to finish the park for dedication day, just 6 months away. Every day it grew before our eyes. It had been a dream. Now it was going to happen. Then we heard the sculpture was finished and had arrived in Israel. So had Peter Corlett to make sure it was placed just right. With the statue on its pedestal, we knew we were almost there. Finally came the day we'd been waiting for. April the 28th, 2008. The park was about to open and everyone came to celebrate. Aussies, Israelis, kids, parents, everyone.
His Excellency, the President of the State of Israel, Mr. Shimon Peres, Their Excellencies, the Governor-General of Australia, Major General Michael Jeffrey, and Mrs. Jeffrey, the Mayor of Beersheba, Mr. Yaakov Turner, and Mrs. Turner. Honored guests, Orchim Nichbadim, on behalf of Richard and Jean Pratt, Eloise Weislitz, the chair of the Pratt Foundation, and Alex Weislitz, who are with us here today. Welcome, Orchim Habayim. The Park of the Australian Soldier is here to tell a story. It is the story of how over the past 90 years, Australian soldiers have come to this land and to this part of the world to fight, to defend, to sacrifice, and to help make peace in 2 world wars and in other conflicts in the Middle East. Some 5 years ago, the Pratt Foundation decided to commemorate the ties of war and peace which have linked Australia with Jewish and Zionist history and the State of Israel. We chose Beersheba because, as you've heard, not very far from here, this is where the Australian Light Horse won a remarkable victory. And this is where the Gallant 800 changed the history of the Middle East.
It is my pleasure to welcome you all on behalf of the city of Beersheba to the dedication ceremony of the Park of the Australian Soldier.
Beersheba, a city of peace, tolerance, integration and progress, welcome our distinguished guests from Australia and our distinguished guests from Israel and abroad. We promise to do our best in operating and keeping the Park of the Australian Soldier for the children and families of Beersheba and the Negev and for the people of Australia.
תודה רבה לכולכם. Thank you.
On behalf of the government and the people of Australia, I sincerely thank the President, the Beersheba Foundation, the Municipal Council of Beersheba, and the people of Israel for honouring our Australian soldiers in such an appropriate way for the establishment of this beautiful park with its magnificent Light Horse Memorial, and including an innovative playground catering for the needs of children with disabilities. This landscape recreation park creates an enduring link across time and space, permanently uniting Israelis with Australia and connecting those gallant light horsemen of 1917 with future generations of Israelis who, in using this park, will hopefully pause to reflect on its purpose in being here. I especially commend the generosity of the Pratt Foundation of Australia for constructing the park and memorial, as well as the many people in both countries who have also contributed. I'm delighted that Mr. and Mrs. Pratt can be with us today. Thank you for your generosity in supporting this historic and enduring expression of the goodwill between our nations. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
thank you, Your Excellency. I now invite His Excellency, Mr. Shimon Peres, President of the State of Israel, to deliver his address.
You know, they say that history is like a galloping horse. Once it passes nearby your location, you better mount and gallop with the horse. The alternative is the horse will gallop without you. You mounted the horse and made history. You're very brave soldiers. You're very brave country. In our eyes, Australia is a trustworthy continent, maybe more than any other continent, and a commonwealth of freedom. The distance between Australia and Israel is far away, geographically. Morally, we are very close. You came here not because of geographic distance, but because of the moral responsibility. You came to fight for a better world. Well, today we don't fight other soldiers, we fight the desert. as our Prime Minister, our mentor, David Van say, it's either we shall overcome the desert, or the desert will overcome us.
Mr. Mehmet Jose, Deputy Head of Mission, Embassy of the Republic of Turkey.
Lines, direction right! Right! On! Hello, party! Right!
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please stand for the Ode of Remembrance?
Opinions for the fallen. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eyes, steady in the glow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old as we that were left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. We will remember them. We will remember them.
In the end, I think my grandfather was there as well, in spirit at least. More than 90 years ago, he and his mates had travelled thousands of miles from home. They had fought boldly and bravely in a foreign land. Now they were being remembered and honoured. And if they could have seen the kids' faces, they'd have smiled and felt pretty good.